In April 2021, the Maltese Parliament agreed to challenge the underrepresentation of women that constitutes a democratic deficit in Parliament. A 2019 consultation document had proposed constitutional amendments that would include a gender corrective mechanism on the number of parliamentary seats, more commonly referred to as gender quotas. The gender quotas will kick in when an underrepresented sex, which is probably going to be women, obtains less than 40% of seats in Parliament. The law will automatically add up to 12 seats, such that they reach the 40% threshold. Both parties in Parliament agreed with the proposals, with 63 MPs voting in favour and only 2 against. The gender quota measure got everybody talking. The benefits of such a measure were extensively presented to the public, but some of the counter-arguments may have been overlooked. Gender quotas are intended to address the fact that out of our current Parliament of 67 MPs, only 9 are women. That's one of the lowest female parliamentary participation rates in the world. Although Maltese women have had the right to vote for 70 years, female MPs have never made up more than 14% of Parliament, despite roughly half the population being women. The problem of lack of women in Parliament can be narrowed down to one of 2 possible reasons. There has either been a lack of female politicians who contested elections in the past, or Maltese voters have a bias against women candidates. Identifying the culprit from these 2 is critical before one can even start to consider potential solutions. Let's take a look at the 2017 general election. Of the 377 candidates across all 13 districts, only 42 were women. That's just 11% of total candidates. In the 2013 election, proportionality wasn't much better. 15% of contestants were women. The 2017 election results show that of the 67 MPs, just 8 were women. Women accounted for 11% of contestants and 12% of MPs actually elected to Parliament. These proportional figures tell us that the Maltese electorate, by and large, look beyond gender when choosing their representative, as there's no evidence to suggest that voters show any sort of gender discrimination. In the past, political parties have found it unsurprisingly difficult to convince women to contest elections. The gender quota law will be targeting the problem of a voting bias against women, even though this does not seem to be the case. So much so that in the 2019 MEP elections, the female portion of candidates was 24%, but accounted for 50% of elected members. All indications are that the real problem is a lack of female candidates to choose from. The proposed mechanism fails to deal with this issue. Gender quotas enforce equality of outcome, hoping that this leads to equality of opportunity. Put simply, imagine a 100-metre race. Equality of opportunity makes sure that all athletes start at the same line, while equality of outcome ensures that all athletes cross the finish line at the same time. Although it's easier to draw conclusions by looking at the finish line rather than the starting line, laws should address the root of problems, instead of conveniently manipulating results. The quota implies that political representation based on merit, expertise, integrity, and competence is secondary to equal gender representation. If we really believe such a law is a good idea, why should we stop at gender? Who is to say that we shouldn't also seek representative proportionality based on other characteristics? For example, young adults are heavily underrepresented. 18% of the population are between 18 and 30 years old, but only 6% of elected members fall within this age bracket. Some could argue that equality of outcome is necessary to instill a change in mentality. However, others would say that the proposed quota is founded on an unjustified assumption that Maltese voters prefer one gender over the other. It's evident that the electorate votes for women with the same proportion as they do for men. And deeper problems lie with the fact that not enough women contest elections in the first place. The new law does have its merits. It proposes multiple family-friendly measures which will hopefully nudge Parliament in the right direction. At the moment, a career in local politics is not particularly rewarding, especially when considering the amount of public scrutiny your job would be under. Maltese MPs are among the lowest paid members of Parliament in Europe in proportion to the country's average salary. Malta also has an overcrowded parliament, with the highest number of MPs per 100,000 inhabitants in Europe in 2020, and most MPs are part-timers. Let's put quality ahead of quantity. Let's give MPs full-time jobs and competitive salaries that attract competent men and women, even if it means cutting down on the number of representatives. Maltese parliamentary legislation needs structural changes, not legal amendments that paper over the cracks.